Last time, we watched one man rule an empire through silence. Tokugawa Ieyasu wasn't the first sword to fall in love with a slow stage. He was only the last in a very long line. 200 years before Ieyasu, a shogun named Ashikaga Yoshimitsu sat in a festival crowd and watched a 12-year-old boy perform. The boy's name was Zeami. The shogun never looked away. Within months, Zeami and his father were brought under the shogunate's protection. A traveling street art, sarugaku, was about to be rebuilt piece by piece into something aristocrats would kneel for. That boy would go on to write the rules of Noh that are still followed today. It seems strange. Men who commanded armies, who had already won everything by the sword, why give themselves to something this slow? Because winning a country and holding one are not the same skill. A performance that requires no explanation, no persuasion, no force, and yet commands a room into total silence, is a kind of power a battlefield can never teach. Noh didn't compete with the sword. It finished what the sword started. After Yoshimitsu, 3 men would each bend this same stage to a very different purpose. One would try to burn tradition down and remake it in his own image. One would use it to perform his way into a legitimacy he was never born with. And one, a man you've already met, turns out to have a relationship with this stage far deeper than silence alone. We'll meet all 3 in the episodes ahead. Consider the example of Takeda Shingen, known as the Tiger of Kai. He was a formidable military genius who once came close to defeating the man who would go on to become shogun. Yet, historical records reveal that Shingen was deeply devoted to Noh theatre. He even brought his favorite Noh performers along with him on military campaigns. Shingen valued Noh performers highly, using the art form, including Noh drama and utai, to soothe the fierce spirits of his warriors, while simultaneously boosting morale through heroic performances. It was a means to calm an agitated mind and to view the situation beyond the smoke of the battlefield with a cool, clear eye. Then there is Ishida Mitsunari, the tragic warlord who stood against the Tokugawa clan. A man of great culture, foremost among his contemporaries, he held a deep love for Noh and the tea ceremony. On the eve of the final, decisive battle that would determine Japan's fate, it was not in sword practice that Mitsunari found peace of mind, but rather in the profound silence evoked by the poetic verses of Noh. For them men, living in constant paranoia of betrayal and death, Noh was the only realm governed by absolute discipline, a place capable of quelling chaos. Not every shogun who loved Noh became famous for it. Ashikaga Yoshimasa, Yoshimitsu's grandson, watched his own rule collapse into civil war and retreated instead into beauty. His Higashiyama court gave Japan the aesthetic we now call wabi-sabi. And Noh was its quiet centerpiece. By the Edo period, loving No was no longer a personal taste, it was a requirement. The shogunate designated No as shikigaku, that is, the official performing art used in national ceremonies. Powerful samurai families all maintained their own No troops, and, like weapons, they were required to own No masks and costumes that were passed down through generations. But if you want the ultimate proof of this warrior obsession, you have to look at Hosokawa Yusai. Yusai was a legendary samurai commander, a deadly warrior, and one of the greatest poets and No masters of his era. When his castle was besieged by 15,000 enemies, it is said his life was spared because the opposing generals respected his cultural genius too much to kill him. The Hosokawa family survived the bloody centuries. Today, the Eisei Bunko Museum in Tokyo and the grounds of Kumamoto Castle still preserve the priceless No masks, robes, and texts used by these very warriors. When you look into the eyes of a Hosokawa family mask today, you are looking at the exact object that stared back at a samurai lord 500 years ago. Most of those samurai troops are gone, but their masks aren't. The National No Theatre in Tokyo holds public performances and open archives. Regional No butai across Japan, some over 400 years old, still stage plays exactly as they did under the shoguns who financed them. If you're ever in Japan, you can sit in the same silence a shogun once did. After Yoshimitsu's retreat into beauty, and before Ieyasu's silence, one man looked at this same stage and saw something far more dangerous. Next time, Oda Nobunaga's No. See you in the next one.